All right, Mike Giroux, Director of Golf. We're going to talk about chipping and bounce, using the bounce on a club. When grass gets really tight, you got to use the bounce. Okay, what do we mean by bounce? Well, you have a leading edge. If I put my hands way forward, the leading edge will hit the ground and chop the turf. It's because it's like a knife and it's going down too much. Now, that's called pinching a ball or compressing a ball. There's a time for that. If you're doing a knockdown, there's a time for it. We never want you to ever scoop a ball in the air, okay? Scooping a ball would be when the club passes your hands. That would be scoopy. The only time that would ever work is if you're up on fluffy grass. Okay, but to use bounce is to know this. We always want the club to catch up to the handle right at the ball. Now, so the club will use the bottom of the club. You're talking about bouncing it right off of the bottom, not the leading edge, not the back edge, the bottom. So you'll make a tiny little bruise of the grass only. It won't dig in, it'll nip the grass. They call it nipping it. Okay? Now, how to use the bottom of your club is you can't come down on the ball. So if you can't come down steep, then you can't use a lot of wrists. If I use a lot of wrists, the club is above my head. Okay? So you're not going to try to go up, down. You'll go right in the ground. So the pros go, they stand tall and close to it, but their hands go inside here. The club comes down, and then their hands go around. So it's a little bit pocket to pocket, a little more around, but that looks ridiculous to go from pocket to pocket. So what I want you to know is that is ridiculous to take your hands from here to here without your body. So what you need to do is you're standing tall to it and close to it. Your club goes back, and it is by your right pocket. Now it comes down to the ball, but here's the important thing. Now you go left with your body and your arms, so that once you get to here, you synchronize your motion of, watch this, it's mainly legs and hips go left, and you'll see your handle goes left with it. Watch this. Okay, so you do have to synchronize. You can't just do arms in this shot. The arms go back, then it comes down, and then you go left with the body. Okay, gravity helps. You don't have to be tight. You're going to let the club swing. So I got 2 fingers on it, I'm barely holding it. I'm going to swing it back, it's going to come down, then I'm going to synchronize. Okay, and I'm going to close my eyes on this one. I'm going to swing back, I'm going to come down, and then I'm going to synchronize. So that synchronization to use bounce is you're not coming steep, no wrist, you're not trying to use much wrist. You're swinging it back normal. Will there be a slight bend of your wrists and elbows? Slightly, yes. Okay, as soon as you bend it all the way, that's a pitch. And you could even do a nice bouncing pitch, by the way. It would look like this. But again, the hands go left with it, but it's a little trickier. We're talking about a little chip shot. Okay, so we want to use bounce. A lot of the pros will actually open the face slightly, because when you open your club face slightly, you expose a little more bounce. Okay, plus the ball will go a little softer and higher. So don't get crazy about that. Don't open it more than about 5 degrees. But if you open the face a little bit and then skim it, it might even skip off the ground a little better for you. But know the ball will tend to go a little higher and a little more right. So get used to it. You'll have to add a little bit more pivot speed. Okay, notice my pivot speed. This shot in my mind is only going to go 25 yards. But watch the pivot go through with my arms. So I go back and I go through. Okay, so notice that 45 degrees of pivot with my arms. Okay, watch what it looks like without a pivot. And you go, it's not going to look very good. And you don't want to think you pivot before your arms. That's not going to work. The club comes down in front of your chest. There it is. There's the contact. Then you go with it. So the key is let the club come back in front of you, bounce off the bottom of the club. Your hands will be slightly in front. I'm talking an inch or two, and only for a second or two, because the club is going to pass it slightly. Okay, so don't try to get way out there, hands in front. And ball position, for most players, your feet are going to be pretty close together. So there's the center of my stance, but I'm going to turn my toes a little bit. All right, by the way, you can stay perfectly square on this, just be narrow, but you can be square. But the ball will be just behind center or center, okay, because we want you to move into that left side. But see if you can get your club to bounce. Practice off of tight lies. If it digs, you're digger, and if you're bouncing them too high and skipping into the ball, you're releasing a little too soon. So you're trying to figure out where is my chest and get your club to bounce off of there. See if you can do it, and when you can nip it, you'll love it. You'll love every chip shot you get.